someone will look and say fat is 2.5 times the calorie content of protein and carbs, so it's easier to cut the fat out to eat less. Wrong. You must have the right fats in your diet. You must have right proteins in your diet. Proteins are used, but you shouldn't overeat protein. Now I'm going to talk to the bodybuilders in the room. There's obviously lots of you here today, but the bodybuilders in the room, okay, you don't need 5 eggs in a sitting. You need 2 maximum, okay? Your body can use about 20 up to a maximum of 30 grams of physical protein. Now 2 eggs is 20 to 22 grams of protein. Okay, so 2 eggs is all your body can deal with protein in one sitting before it's having to start to discard some. Okay, so small amounts of protein regularly through the day. A 200 gram steak is double what you need in one sitting. 100 grams of steak from a protein point of view is all you need in one sitting. Okay, that is a maximum that your body can deal with before you are overeating protein in a meal. Most people overeat protein in a meal but undereat it in a day. Okay, and it's something that we're going to solve for you. A couple of things about fat. Fat gets used inside the cell as little energy in these energy burning factors called mitochondria. Now, if you've got a lot of mitochondria, you probably stick thin, never ever gain weight. Is there anyone in the room can eat all the time, never gain weight? Anyone like that? No? Maybe you stand up so we can hate you. No, just jokes. But is anyone here feel like me in Veronica in that Gary Larson comic? I don't know whether anyone reads Gary Larson, but it's got there, Veronica, in an attempt to save time, directly applied the cheesecake to her thighs. Have you seen that one? Like, does anyone feel like that? Look at the cheesecake cabinet blow up. Okay, you probably have a low metabolic rate, and I like to you probably have few mitochondria, and your goal is to get your metabolic rate up. How do you do that? Feed your body properly. Excess fat gets stored as fat. This is the one that most people don't understand. Fat-free products are typically all carbohydrates. Fat-free products get stored inside get used as energy source, very quick energy, get stored as glycogen. You only store about 80 grams on average of glycogen in a day. What's that? That's a buddy of Coke. That's 600 mils of Coke. You've filled your glycogen stores, and then every piece of fruit or vegetable you have after one 600 ml of soft drink gets stored as fat. What? Yep. If you're an athlete in the room who does lots and lots of training, this is more important for you than you know. You don't have a free license to drink and eat poor stuff because you're an athlete, because what happens is your body is a finely tuned machine, and think of yourself more like a Ferrari now, and you need to really have the right oils going into the system and the right fuels going into the system. Okay, it's really critical for you. So, what we do on the program is very simple. We make sure you're getting your vitamins and minerals and phytofactors. We make sure you're getting enough good quality water, and then we cut out the excess fat and carbohydrates, and your body's forced to burn its own fat stores. And that's what happens. It turns it into fat sugars for your brain called ketone bodies. Now, there's some half-educated people in the health industry, human health industry, that will throw their hands up and go, ketosis, keto, that's bad, that's dangerous. Absolutely not. It's a protective mechanism. The only people it's dangerous for is type 1 diabetics. And believe it or not, there is plenty of evidence now. One endocrinologist who's doing some serious work on this, endocrinologist, someone who knows a lot about type 1 diabetes. There's one lady endocrinologist in Toowoomba now who's done some really serious work on it and has got it worked out that people increase their lifespan, decrease the amount of insulin they need in their life as type 1 diabetics if they do this sort of program, but they have to be very closely monitored, very, very closely monitored. And her work and one arm of diabetes, type 1 diabetes in Australia, are really looking at that, because the more they can decrease their insulin, the longer they live. Anyway, so a couple of things about protein. You need quality protein because your body can't store it. You need and the other thing about quality protein, so now you have your protein from some chickpeas, like I had some chickpeas with brekkie this morning, okay? That's reasonably poor quality protein. Your body's got to discard a lot of that. It uses some for muscle making, okay, but it's got to discard a lot of it. It's like threading beads on a string, blue, red, black, blue, red, black, blue, red, black. High quality proteins has even numbers of all three. Poor quality proteins have poor numbers of one of them. That's an oversimplification, but just so you can understand it. Okay? So high quality protein, even numbers, and threading the beads on the string can make it. Did you know if you eat small amounts of protein regularly through the day, you can maintain your muscle mass, no problems? Okay, that's really important. And another thing about protein, you have a meal rich in protein, okay, and it stimulates your body to let go of its fat stores. Wow. Okay, and that's why we have the protein snacks. It has a specific dynamic action, which means you burn more because if you're having a little bit of protein with a meal. Feeling really guilty, have a salad sandwich, your metabolic rate's here, possibly a little bit low. Have your salad sandwich with a little bit of meat with it, or an egg, okay, your metabolic rate goes up a little bit, okay, and you're going to burn more. Why do we know this? Because in the animal field, it costs us a lot of money. You imagine what happened if you're trying to get an animal to gain weight and you stimulate its metabolic rate. You know how much money that costs you? Lots. In a human, it doesn't matter because the person who's feeding you is selling you the food. If you buy more, that's good. In the animal kingdom, if you buy more, you're losing money. You're a farmer losing money. And so it's essential as a building block, and muscle doesn't store tryptophan. Now, I want to explain this because I want you to understand why there's a lot of link now with protein and depression. When your body is protein deficient, so who here hasn't eaten, like what's the time now? Midday. Who here hasn't eaten since before 9 o'clock? Is there any people honest enough to put their hand up? Okay. Before 10 o'clock. Who hasn't eaten anything since 10 o'clock in the last 2 hours? You're running into protein deficiency right now. Your body has to metabolize and detoxify protein within 2 to 3 hours of it being consumed. Okay? It needs to put it somewhere. If it's not putting it in a muscle cell because you haven't done much exercise, okay, it's breaking it down, discarding it. Some is turning into fat, some is turning into sugars. Okay, you're going into protein deficiency, and when you need your next protein, what it's doing is grabbing it from your muscle cells. Okay, there is one amino acid, essential amino acid, that's not part of human muscle tissue. It is tryptophan, okay, like we've just put up there. Tryptophan is the precursor for the happy chemical in the brain, serotonin, and it is the precursor for melatonin, which is your sleep chemical. If you do not have enough tryptophan in your diet, your body cannot make the happy chemical and the sleep chemical. What are two of the most commonly prescribed drugs from a GP? Antidepressants. 1 in 4 women in Australia are on antidepressants. Okay? I don't know the male statistics, but why? Because only women talk about it. 1 in 4 men don't like talking about their problems. 1 in 4. Who here's got erectile dysfunction, men? Okay, so no one put their hands up. Now, so women, who here are depressed? We've got some hands up. Yeah, see, it proves my point. Women are more open about their discussions. Now, what I want you to understand with that is if you're not having small amounts of protein regularly through the day, your body at best is robbing from your muscle cells. And who wants to lose muscle mass? Is there anyone who wants to lose muscle mass? No one. Okay? As a naturopath friend of mine says, an old lady falls over, breaks a leg, ends up in hospital, contracts pneumonia and dies. What did she die from? She died from a lack of muscle mass because she wouldn't have fallen over if she had enough muscle mass. She didn't die from pneumonia. That was just a consequence of a lack of muscle mass. And so keeping muscle mass is really important. So, does everyone understand that now? Small amounts of protein, high quality protein. I'm not going to overemphasize the all plant protein powder, but it is an amazing high quality product. It's better quality than an egg. Okay? I'm not going to overemphasize the protein bars, but I consume these. I have these on me all the time. this is better quality protein than an egg. Okay, high quality protein. And what you want to know about that is your body can, if it's high quality protein, it contains all the amino acids, in essential ones, in good quantities. And these two products alone take the stress out of you guessing about what sort of protein you're putting in. Okay, this, if you're a vegan or vegetarian, is perfect because it mixes wheat, pea and soy in the right combination to have all the essential amino acids in the right levels. You try and do that as a vegan or a vegetarian in every meal, that's hard work. You've got to know a lot of science to do that. Okay? And that's why type 2 diabetes is rampant in India. A lot of Indians are vegetarians, and the potential to have good quality protein is low. They're using different oils now, and they're using lots of carbohydrates, and for those two reasons, there's lots of type 2 diabetes. And in fact, it's the most prevalent country for type 2 diabetes in the world. Combining vegetable proteins is hard. Quality amino acids. Now, this is scientific research done in the States on old people, and by a guy named Dr. Robert Wolfe, and also on astronauts. Okay, so people who cannot exercise, zero gravity or bedridden, they've got them to increase muscle mass by having quality proteins in between meals without the effects of exercise. Small amounts of protein regularly. I'm not telling you to overeat protein, I'm telling you to have what we have, one egg, or a tin of sardines for breakfast or whatever, okay? That amount of protein for breakfast, some people just went, oh, sardines. One amount of protein for breakfast, and then 2 hours later have half a protein bar. 2 hours later, or 2 hours before breakfast, because you get up early, swig down, like Tony Henderson does, swig down a 10 grams of the all-plant protein powder, because that gives you that. Now, who wants to be in their 60s and healthy and fit like Tony? You know, amazing example. So, this, anyway, so I've already told you about that. So, how do you choose quality protein? There is not another protein bar in the market in Australia that actually puts its amino acid levels on it. Find one. Tell me about it. Go and look. Find one that actually tells you its essential amino acid blend. They don't, and they would claim it. You talk to any food scientist, they would claim it if they did it. So Nutri protein powders and this protein powder especially is a fantastic one. So much so that it's out of stock here. Anyway, a couple of things about carbohydrates. We knew all these, but you need to chew your food. You need to chew things. If it's processed, it's pre-chewed. There's something that I do, and I say this all the time, but does anyone here have a bakery habit that they just like to kick? Come on. Anthony Robbins tells us we do things for the pursuit of pleasure or the avoidance of pain, correct? So, you know, I used to walk past Goldstein's, which is a well-known bakery on the Gold Coast, and I went, oh, it smells good. And then I'd look in there, I'll have the apricot Danish. Why? It's got fruit on it. I feel less guilty. You're laughing because you've done the same thing. You've followed the same logic, okay? And this is the reason, because you go and you don't know how it's made. Did you know? And if you drive past any bakery, and I'm sorry for the bakers in the room that I'm exposing your secrets, but the baker's lights are on all night, correct? Okay, and what's happening? The grain gets delivered the day before, and the baker is processing that stuff. Chew, 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 spit it out. Chew, 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 spit it out. Chew, 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 spit it out. Hence why there's that glaze on top of that Danish. It's just solidified saliva. I've never been able to put, I've been on 5-star trips. I've been on plenty of really nice restaurants, and I cannot put that stuff in my body because I've said that story more often than you've heard it, more times than you've heard it. And the reason I say that is because I know it's not good for me to eat that product. Who here thinks having an apricot Danish, and I'm sorry for apricot Danish lovers, but who thinks apricot Danish is a step towards our long-term health? Who thinks it's a step away? Just a little one, but a step away. We agree that. We all agree that. but we still put it in our body because we don't associate any pain with it. Now you know how it's made. You don't want to be chewing the baker's saliva. Next time you feel like a can of Coke. Has anyone here ever fed sugarcane tops to cattle? Am I the only one in the room that's fed sugarcane tops to cattle? When you fed sugarcane tops to cattle, okay, what happens when they chew the sugarcane? What drips out of their mouth? It's a blacky saliva, isn't it? It's like a molasses-style saliva. That's how they make Coke. They get the cows to chew this sugarcane and it just drips out of their mouth like that. I've never been able to consume any coloured thing ever since. Anyway, a couple of things about fats. You need to know this. 2 fats are essential, omega-3 and omega-6. Everything else your body can make. 95% of the doctors that I have surveyed that tell me that you shouldn't supplement cannot tell me which fatty acids are essential to a human. 95%. I've had 1 out of every 20 doctors that tell me that supplements, if you eat well, you don't need to supplement, can tell me which fatty acids are essential to a human in their diet. So I don't take their advice. And omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids are essential to humans. Our body cannot make them, okay? The man-modified fats are the worst ones, but what's really critical is this omega-6, omega-3 issue for a couple of reasons. One, because more omega-3 you'll be thinner, more omega-6 you'll be fatter. Full stop. Okay? If your cells are communicating to each other, then if it's omega-6 that's communicating between the cells, we call these icosanoids. It's complicated science, just think of it this way. If you've got too much omega-6, you've got a Dirty Harry problem in your house, in your body. Okay, what did Dirty Harry do? Shoot first, ask questions later. Okay, if you've got plenty of omega-3, you've got Simon Baker in the house. What did Simon Baker do? The mentalist. Ask questions, please escort the guilty party from the room. Got the result done, no collateral damage. Okay? How do you know if you have too much omega-6 in your system? Things like aspirin, Nurofen, Panadol, those sorts of things, Ponstan, those sorts of things would be things you'd consider having in your house. You'd actually buy those things on a regular basis. Because what you're buying is your body's product which artificially dampens down the response from the omega-6 fatty acids communicating with each other. It also dampens down the response from the omega-3 ones, hence the side effects of those products. What's a better way to do it? Adjust it naturally. Okay? Adjust that naturally and let your body respond. Who here in the room has experienced period pain? Am I the only male that's experienced period pain? I'm the only male. Do you know how I've experienced period pain? All you women are going, you've never experienced it, have you? You just have no idea. I have. I have no uterus, but I have experienced period pain. I was injecting some cows, synchronising them with prostaglandin F2 alpha, called Lutalize, to synchronise them to artificially inseminate them. One of these cows jumped around, as women sometimes do, and I accidentally injected myself with prostaglandin F2 alpha. Okay? That is the drug, that is the icosanoid which causes period pain. That's what you're experiencing, lots of prostaglandin F2 alpha from omega-6 fats. If it's the one from omega-3 fats, it's a different series prostaglandin, which is much more gentle communication. Is there any you've just got to understand that people experience different levels of pain with the same physiological thing because of the nutrition they have in their body. Okay? And what I want you to understand is it's really important to have good quality omega-3. Where do you get it from? You get it from grass-fed animals, most are grain-fed. You get it from wild, fatty, cold water fish, most are farmed now. That beautiful salmon slabs that everyone loves to buy and cook up at home, beautiful, but most of that is farmed. There's no plant sources of the long EPA and DHA unless, of course, you're an algae eater. Do we have any algae eaters in the room? Okay. And that's why you eat the animals that eat the algae. And if you can get it from your leafy greens, did you know that? You can get it from your bitter leafy greens like your rockets, your kales. You can get your omega-3 from that sort of source. Purslane, you know, pigweed that grows in your garden. You can use that in your salads, as long as your dog hasn't weed on it. It's any Greeks or Italians in the room that have actually eat it in their salads? We've had it in salad, it's quite nice. It's a little bit bitter, but as long as the dog hasn't been on, it's fine. And just wash it a little bit, and it's a really high source of omega-3. You only need to consume about 20 kilos a day to get your omega-3 from those sources. Okay? Anyway, so most people think, okay, I mentioned before, tuna, it was in a lunchbox we had up there before. Tuna's a good source of omega-3, so I just want to unpack it for you. It even says on the back there, good source of omega-3, and so let's unpack it here, just so you can read the label. Polyunsaturated is omega-6 and omega-3. Omega-3 is the non-omega-6 part of it. So there's 85 milligrams of omega-3, there's 2,400 milligrams of omega-6 and omega-3. How much omega-6 is that? 2,315 milligrams of omega-6, which makes that a 27-to-1 ratio of omega-6 to omega-3. Your ratio in Australia is 20:1 on average. Typically it's more like 40:1 for people who had fast food 2 or more times per week because of what it tells us about your eating habits, not because of any particular fast food joint. Okay? It's more like 40:1. It should be 2.3:1, your ratio. Tuna, most people consume that thinking they're getting omega-3 levels. It says it on the label, it's not fixing your problem. If you look at supplements, this is research done from the University of Auckland, 2015. They tested all of the ones on our market. Only 3 have in them what it says on the label. The rest are deficient. And my daughter will confirm that with her testing at a science lab in Brisbane. And the other thing that was reported in the Advertiser in Adelaide, and then Blackmores came out and said our fish oil is independently tested a minimum of 3 times. We're also aware that poor storage of supplements can have a significant negative effect. In fact, it's your fault, it's not ours, right? That's what they've said. Nutri, more than 25 quality and purity tests on every batch, not 3. 25. In fact, on Double X, it's over 500 tests on every batch. You know, this is a company that makes sure they get the things right. There's vitamin E added to make sure it's not off. In fact, if it hasn't got something to preserve it, an omega-3 fatty acid is super unsaturated. DHA and EPA, their melting points are below minus 40 degrees Celsius. No one has a freezer that stores at less than minus 20. Okay, so your products are off if they're not preserved. Do not put an unpreserved omega-3 product into your body. Okay, please, it's worse for you. And hence why we get some mixed results with omega-3 studies in medical studies. Guaranteed less than 1 month warehousing. Why is that essential? Okay, because it means from the time it's been caught, the fish, and the oil's being produced, it's only 1 month from there to when it's getting on the shelf here. That is just crazy good. There's no other company that actually takes the time to research to know that that's important, number one, and then to do it. 90 capsule size. I used to often say, why can't I pick up a box of capsules like this? Because I take that many of them. Why? Because if you can't consume it, and if you take the top off your omega-3 and you don't have to peel it off, like you do on the Nutri product, if it's just a little suction thing, it just comes off easily. If it's something like that, it's already off before you bought it. And if it takes you more than 30 days, once light or air has got into that product, it's going off. Okay, so please understand there's things like that which are really important for quality. Okay, because Amway and Nutri are interested in having a quality product that's good for the consumer, not in selling heaps of product. Because they know, and Rich DeVos said this when he said, you only have to explain quality once. You have to apologise for poor quality for a lifetime. Heavy metal free, sustainable fisheries, NutriCert. What does NutriCert mean? I'm going to unpack that in a minute. And a 90-day satisfaction guarantee, which means you get to be the judge of whether it meets it or not. Okay, I love that. With the program, there's 3 days prep and then 28 days of fat loss. You'll do 3 days protein. Now, here's a health point hack. Grab one of these because it's all in here. It's very self-explanatory. We've made sure that it's very self-explanatory in the current form. So what you need to do is grab one of these. They're $100, but if you get on your knees and beg the person who brought you along to allow you to buy it at wholesale price, you'll get it for $80. Okay, and so at $80 you can actually access one of these if you're on your knees and begging to buy it at wholesale. Then you can get this pack. You've got it forever, and that's all we did. We had the original version of this years ago, okay, which was very hard to understand, very Americanized. And now we've got a much more easy to understand standalone product. You can read this, follow this, and you know exactly what to do. And you'll learn to mix and match your own foods, which is great. And then 14 days you add more food in. And quite often, and especially if you're like me and you had 26 kilos to lose, then what happens is you're starting to lose weight. And you're losing, like I was losing 2.5 kilos a week, right? 2.5 kilos, and I was getting fitter and stronger in the whole process. You saw the photos. As you're going through this process, you're not losing muscle mass, you're gaining muscle mass. I gained 2 kilos of muscle mass over the 4 months of that weight loss. That's crazy. People, you can't do that unless you eat this way. Okay? People talk to me about keto diets. Fantastic, you're not having enough protein to maintain your muscle mass. You're losing weight, you're just not losing, you're losing muscle mass as well. People talk to me about all sorts of different programs. You're not getting enough nutrition in because you haven't got access to quality supplements. Okay, it is really, really critical to do it all. And then you add more food days in. Why do you add more food? Because you've got to bump your metabolic rate. And the resistance is, I'm losing, let's keep doing it. If you don't stop losing, your body will eventually set its little fat meter and say, this is not right, you shouldn't be losing any weight, you need to regain it. Okay? This is dangerous. This is upset the status quo too much. And so we fix that by adding more food. You'll have 3 meals a day and a minimum of 3 snacks a day. Now, if you're an athletic male, you might need 6 or 8 snacks a day. Okay? If you're a little female who does no exercise, you will need 3 snacks a day. But I'm only a little female, I don't do any exercise, so I should eat less. No, you still need small amounts of protein regularly through the day, and you still need your essential fatty acids as well regularly through the day. You need those things, okay? And you're going to get quick results, which is really cool. Then long-term health maintenance, where you're going to have a new set point in your brain says, I'm now skinny, and I'm going to hold you here. And that's so exciting, which is cool. You're going to eat everything together, which is important. And some people say, oh, I don't feel like the piece of fruit, can I have it later? No. And and this is what's wrong with the CSIRO diet, if you have a piece of fruit outside a meal as a snack, it says to your body, store fat, don't burn fat, look for more sugars to burn. And by the way, please produce some cholesterol. Okay? Those are health issues if you have sugary things outside a meal. You shouldn't have sugary things, and a piece of fruit certainly falls into that category. And 2 pieces of fruit a day, 3 maximum for an adult, which equates to half or 1 piece for a child. So Health Point's going to teach you all these things. Things about water, what do you need? Lots of it. Buy a filter or be a filter. That's what I say to people. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about water, but Eastspring is certainly the world's best and the most popular point of use water filtration.